Today I'm gonna attempt to make the largest arc of my life, which could be pretty small compared to some arcs other people make, but it will be the largest for me, if I can actually make it. And of course it goes without saying, don't try this at home. All I need is my super high voltage generator circuit that's affecting my lights, combined to something called a Mark's generator. I made my capacitor using 2 layers of aluminum foil separated by some plastic that should be able to handle tens of kilovolts. And I should be able to charge it using my circuit that creates... Clearly I haven't learned my lesson. Damn it. Burn my skin too. Handling high voltage is very dangerous and can easily kill you if you don't have a horseshoe up your butt. Maybe that's why I can't sit comfortably. Don't hold high voltage output while holding the ground. All your muscles will contract. It feels like you're hit by a truck. Be disconnected from everywhere, and if you have to, touch the circuit with only one hand. Anyway, let me see if I can use my rectified voltage to charge my huge capacitor. It should just take a moment. What the I managed to kill my self-made capacitor. See, the insulation was damaged here and the high voltage jumped between the layers and melted the capacitor. See, now the capacitor can't handle the high voltage at all. What is that? Yay! This is interesting. See, the charges are flying over air due to corona discharge, charging the capacitor enough for it to break down and repeat periodically. Yeah, Look, my capacitor broke, so I ordered a bunch of 15,000 volts 2 nanofarad ceramic capacitors. Let me see if I can recreate my broken capacitor situation. Here you see I put a small gap between the legs of my capacitor, and now I can charge it with the high voltage to create the same effect. Well, this was the same thing, just much faster. I guess I can increase the gap between the legs so that the capacitor can charge to a higher voltage. Let me turn off the supply first. Capacitors hold charge and can shock you badly. Make sure to discharge them before you touch them. Here's a wider gap. It's not jumping anymore. It seems like the voltage is now above the 15,000 volt rating of the capacitor and just jumps directly between the legs. I might have to put 2 of them in series then. Anyway, in addition to my high voltage capacitors, I bought some high power large 1 mega ohm resistors. Not for their power though, just that the resistor legs have to be spaced far enough, otherwise the high voltage will arc across the resistor, which we don't want. Let's put them together. Fortunately, I have these nice and round thingies I want to use for my spark gaps. This is the output of the circuit, and that's the ground, and hopefully there will be huge arcs between them when I turn on my power supply. Nothing? I can hear the high voltage. Maybe my gaps are too wide? I can raise the power supply to give it more voltage output. What's going on? Did you see that? The voltage was so high, the arcs, instead of jumping at the output, they were jumping across the resistors. Maybe I have to make my gaps shorter so the voltage drops, or maybe this gap shorter. Let's see. Hey, I have some at the output. Still jumps across the resistors. I think I have to make my gaps shorter. I made my gaps shorter now. There you go. Can I make it wider now? Ah. starts jumping across the resistor, but that's large. Here's the room a bit darker. God, this is loud. That's not bad. Sometimes it jumps across the resistor though. Higher voltage. See, it's jump. Oh, what happened? Starting to continuously arc. They say there is another way to run the circuit. See, right now I'm running my supply voltage at a lower level so the circuit doesn't trigger automatically. And then externally I can trigger the circuit. Say with my screwdriver I can short the first gap. See? And it jumps. There you go. Which might be good because it takes a couple of seconds for all the capacitors to fully charge. So this way I can give it time to charge and then trigger the circuit. It's not bad. It just makes me a little bit sad that I can't supply a higher voltage to make an even larger arc because my resistors are not big enough and it will just arc across them. But I have another trick. I could cover the entire circuit with polyurethane for better insulation, the stuff I put on my Tesla coil. First I cover the front of my spark gaps with masking tape to make sure they remain exposed. Then I cover everything, especially the exposed metals, with my polyurethane. Except maybe where I want to make contacts to the rest of the circuit. I put 5 coats on, but doesn't look like much. Hopefully it insulates enough. I also want to mount it on a plexiglass so I can hold it vertically. I don't know if this polyurethane made it any better. I'm still losing a lot of charge due to corona discharge. What's going on? Well, here we are. Let's see if it works. Not jumping. Do I have to trigger it myself maybe? Hey! Maybe I need to adjust the gaps again. I would say the polyurethane had a bad effect on it. I wouldn't add it next time. There we go. It is still pretty big. It's beautiful. Maybe I'll remake it later to make the arcs even larger. I mean, is there ever an end to this adventure? Now you might ask, what's the point of this super high voltage generator? What's wrong with you? Can't you see she's sexy? Well, this can be used for lightning tests and some future video ideas. Subscribe not to miss them.